Today's question comes to us from Vale in Italy. Hi, Alex. Hi. I really appreciate your work. Something about tracker music, especially, just scratches a certain itch perfectly. Thank you. There's nothing quite like it. I only got to experience Unreal Tournament through the soundtrack, while Deus Ex, as a newcomer to the series, completely blew me away on every level. Awesome. Well, really glad you enjoyed them. Perhaps my question is a little personal, but it's one I often wonder when enjoying older, highly acclaimed pieces of media. Here it comes. How do you reflect on having created something so impactful so many years ago? Obviously, if a work is memorable enough to retain relevance to this day, then the recognition is absolutely deserved. But at some point, life has to go on, as does your own production. You can't keep living in some vague point in the past, or at least I don't think it would be creatively fulfilling. So, how do you reconcile with that? Do you ever feel a need to live up to it, to emulate whatever intangible quality might have made it so successful? Does that ever limit your ambition? Or is it merely a stepping stone in your overall progress as an artist, perhaps long surpassed in your eyes by more recent projects? It's a kind of living legacy, and I wonder if it ever feels a little heavy when you're still actively engaging in the messy process of creation. The fact that it's so beloved might make it harder to look back at it with clarity. And after such a time span, you're likely a different person from who you were back then, too. Wow. This is on point in a lot of different ways in terms of how things work with then and from 98 when Unreal was published to 2000 when Unreal, 99 when Unreal Tournament was published, and 2000. So that's a 3-year span when what I am most known for, I mean, Jazz Jackrabbit was a little earlier. I think 2 was 96, 95, something like that. We're talking about a very short period of time, right? I've done music projects since then. I've done voice projects since then. I've done sound design projects since then. And I've done audio direction. I think that I honestly believe that once those music projects were done and I became a full-time audio director, I did have a couple of opportunities to audio direct after Ion Storm. One of them was on Skyrim and Morrowind, for that matter. And I'm thankful that Mark Lampert got that job. He did incredible work on both of those games and more, a lot more. I think he also was the audio director on Starfield, if I'm not mistaken. But admittedly, I see, well, and there's other things. I see people like Will Roger and Jesper Kidd and other colleagues of mine continuing to be composers, right? And I think that when people think of me, my colleagues that is, I think they think of me as a audio director or a sound designer as opposed to a composer in a lot of cases. And a lot of new people have come into the field since then that aren't that familiar with my work, or if they are, they look back at it and think it's dated. You know, is he still able to get a new sound music-wise, right? It's very difficult because you have to hit the exact right niche of the teams, of the people that are hiring for music. But let me just say this. I really would like to work on music for a game again, an entire soundtrack. I don't think I've done, for the most part, entire soundtracks. Even Tyrion was shared with Andreas Molnar. I've been a collaborative guy. It's just that, yeah, people aren't knocking down my door for soundtracks, even though I've kept up my chops. I've done remix albums. I have a lot of really current instrumentation and practice. And of course, 30 years of interactive music design experience. So why wouldn't I be working on more current projects? That's a great question. That wasn't directly answering the question that you asked, but it's how I look at the getting asked repeatedly about these older games and reconciling it with where things are now. Yeah, It's tough. There's also an aspect of games these days where when I listen to them, I'm not so lucky in the way that I don't have lots of residuals from these soundtracks. I don't own them. They don't sell and get me money. I have to continually look for work and continually work in order to pay bills. That's an aspect, but I've still been lucky in that the time that I was around, like there's a balance to everything. And when you look at the Unreal and Unreal Tournament series and even Epic Games in general, fans have latched on to Unreal and Unreal Tournament and they've stayed there even through the generations because we were able to capture a unique moment in sound, in how things impacted. Since then, people go, oh, let's do orchestras, let's do the current thing. That just blends in and amalgamates with film and other things. And you can't, the uniqueness it kind of goes away. You have to work a lot harder to create memorable themes and memorable moments musically with more current projects. And that's part of the challenge that I'd like to approach again. And I think I could do it. Um, so I really appreciate this question because, yes, I get asked a lot about old stuff. I don't get asked that often about newer things. And I know that people on my Discord channel, Funky Rustic Social House, and other people that email or reach out to me on social media, that they're aware of the newer stuff for the most part. But what really resonated with them was what happened in that short time span. So I respect that because I'm one of those people, right? I look at Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which was like a brief blip. I mean, not a blip, it was a massive soundtrack, but and using more current instrumentation. So that is an excellent example of more modern scoring techniques creating a brilliant and and a score that works in the Castlevania universe. But I listen to older scores a bit more often than newer ones, just like you. So I think that the way forward here is I got to go knocking on doors again, which I've started doing. Um, for a long time, it was possible for me to work because people were familiar with my work from a previous project or whatever. That's how Stormgate happened. That's how In Exile took place. Now I'm at a spot where I've got a lot of passion for a lot of projects that are out there, but the industry is brutal. Got to be honest about that. A lot more people looking to get into it. A lot more people hungry, really hungry for work. I want to be able to respect that and understand that, and but be able to help. Maybe teaching's the way to go from this point. I've given that some thought. So I think I've probably given more information than you asked. But I don't feel a need to live up to then. I think that it was pretty effortless to create the Conspiravision and Tournament Rematch remix albums. That felt like just going back and being who I was. That wasn't, it was easy to do. For some, I not doing tracking and sampling, it didn't scratch the itch as much, and I totally get it. It doesn't limit my ambition. I would love to do a Jazz Jackrabbit score with everyone that's been a remixer and Corey Wong and some Dirty Loops people, and be able to do like a new album based on that and have fan support make it happen somehow. I don't know. But there have been some wonderful people that have done remixes of jazz, and that's part of my collaborative spirit, is to not just be selfish with everything. Um, so yeah, uh, how do I reflect? Yeah, that's how I reflect. I don't live in the past. I like going back. I like thinking about my Nintendo days of playing Metroid with my friend Jason, and playing SNES games and growing up with video games, because the first systems were released when I was either born or just a few years old. Same with personal computers. And moving forward is sort of going, hey, now we've got like all these tools to work with, and it's a completely different problem. It's not technology is growing and we just use that and it does the uniqueness for us. Now we've got to find it. And I really would like to try to find it. I'd love to not just do the status quo, could be film, could be games, of sitting down and just going, okay, we're definitely getting an orchestra with it. No, let's look at every tool in our toolbox. And then part of this is in Mick Gordon's speech for how the Doom music was made. At least as much of your time is spent in getting your sound in the first place as it is writing and integrating the music. We've got this whole other layer that needs to speak to players and create something that gives them the same feeling as Unreal Tournament, Unreal, and Deus Ex, right? Um, and those games, like I said, it was kind of effortless to just take the samples and let them go with the inspiration of what we were seeing in the games. Now it's doing the same thing, but it's not making the assumptions about instrumentation and production techniques. Austin Wintory has his own method of, I only use acoustic instrumentation, or mostly, right? Journey had some synth in it, but his go-to is acoustic. He's like, I'm not into the synth thing. I'm not into the sound card thing. I'm not into the chiptune thing. Give me a piano, give me a stringed instrument, something that someone plays, right? That is his approach, which has been quite effective, right? But I also think that that's still one tool in the toolbox that helps the creative process, but doesn't necessarily create the most possible unique sound. So that's what I want to do. I'd love to collaborate with people like Austin or Will or Jesper or whoever. But I think to do that, I need to park my pride a bit and assume that somebody's just going to come and say, hey, we've got a AAA score for you. Really reach out and say, I've been doing this a while, and I think the lessons I've learned will take some game into a completely new dimension musically. So yeah. In the meantime, I do things like audio direction, and I help games find their sound without directly contributing to them. And that's something that I've also had a lot of practice in. So that's how things are gonna go. And I wish everyone out there with the same goals the best of luck. I hope I can collaborate with a few of you. Certainly not possible for all of us to work with all the people that we want to, but thanks for the question, and good luck to you. And on the flip side, wish me luck with that. All right. I'll talk to you on the next question.